Welcome to chapter 10 of the book of 2Chronicles. It begins with Rehoboam, who is the son of Solomon. His mother was an Ammonitess, one of the women, many women that Solomon took as wives, and they also had concubines. And being an Ammonitess, it mentions that his wife set up idolatrous shrines to their idols, and the idols of Milcom were told, the Ammonite, are Milcom and Molech. So these were the gods that Rehoboam's mother, and she burnt incense and sacrificed to them. So you could see where Rehoboam would have picked up a lot of his relationship as far as a god and so forth from his mother. It depends on how much time, I suppose, he spent with his mother compared with his father. Could have been very much so. The father was very busy and the mother basically raised him, as happens so many places, because the husband is working and doing things here, reigning over a kingdom. But Rehoboam himself ended up with 18 wives. And it mentions that he built high places, monuments, and sacred groves, taking after his mother. So here we see the beginning of the decline of the Jewish race. Israel, it's finally wiped out by Nebuchadnezzar, comes back, wiped out again by Rome, 2,000 years, and now it's back again, and it will be wiped out again by the beast until the arrival of Jesus Christ. That's the way I see it. Rehoboam reigned 22 years as king. 17 years he reigned in Jerusalem, and the other 5 probably in Shechem, as it says right here. And Rehoboam came unto Shechem. For unto Shechem came all Israel to give rain to him. Let's go down to our map, and we see right here Shechem. And Jerusalem is down lower here. And this is the kingdom of Judah, and the kingdom of Israel was up here. So he was, at that time, he was reigning in Shechem, Rehoboam, and so this is what is going on right now in this chapter. So he went there to get rain from all the people, and it came to pass when Jeroboam, son of Nebat, heard, and he was in Egypt as he fled from the face of Solomon the king, and Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt, that Jeroboam returned from out of Egypt. This is all in 1 Kings chapters 11, 12, 13, 14. We read about Jeroboam. Most of 2 Chronicles deals with the kings of Judah. But this Jeroboam was an important man that became powerful. He was over the treasury of the tribe of Joseph, and Solomon saw where he was becoming powerful, and so he came after to kill him, and Jeroboam fled to Egypt, where he became raised by the Pharaoh. And then now he's heard about it, and that Jeroboam returned from out of Egypt, older and wiser, and they sent and called him. That is the people from Israel, I suppose. That's where he was from, and Jeroboam came. And all the assembly of Israel and spoke to Rehoboam. And now they sent and called him. That could be, I'm not exactly sure if it was Rehoboam that called from the king of Judah, or it was his own people. But Jeroboam came, and all the assembly of Israel, and spoke to Rehoboam, the king of Judah, saying, well, your father hardened our zygote, and it's a yoke, and the zygote comes from this. And now you lighten from the hard servitude of your patros, and from his heavy zigu, vareos. We have a barometer. It has to do with the weight of the atmospheric pressure. So you lighten this, and which he put upon us, and we will serve to you. So this sounds good. Lighten it and make it a little bit easier, and we'll serve unto you. And he said unto them, will go until 3 days. Tri has to do with 3 days, and then come to me. And the people went forth. From Israel left, and King Rehoboam of Judah brought together the elders, the presbyteros, means an elder, an older person also. Can be generally would be an older person, wouldn't call a younger person a presbyteros. We get the word Presbyterians from that, the elders of the church of that denomination. And he's standing before Solomon, his father, the ones that gave Solomon advice during his life, saying, now Rehoboam's asking, how do you counsel, basically me, to answer a word to this people? And they spoke to him, saying, well, if today you should be for good to this people, and you should please them, and should speak to them, good words, speak to them good words, then they will be to you for servants all the days. Well, we can realize a lot of good things. Every chapter of the Bible is something, I believe, that spiritual gift that God gives to us. And here it's basically, I say, for whom do you get your counsel from? You have, when you're seeking counsel, generally you're having some type of a situation, problem, or a decision to make. It could be a financial one. It could be a relationship. It could be over a tragedy and so forth, or political between countries and so forth. All kinds of different problems arise in life, and we need counseling. Now, for me, the best counseling for me to get right away is to go to the Bible and to look for the answer in the Bible. Find something that happened that's similar to where I'm at and see what it says. When I first became a born-from-above Christian after walking away from the Lord for 13 years, when I came back, somehow the Lord put it on my heart. I got a wire binder, the lined binder, and I made 2 columns. In the one column on the left, I had to do and the other thing not to do. And then I started off in Matthew 1, and I just decided I'm just going to go through the 4 Gospels. And what does Jesus say to do and then not to do? And so I would write them down. I get to, right away, is getting all this information, writing what I should and I shouldn't do. And to me, it worked great for me, and I would highly suggest anybody that's out there that if you were wondering what God wants, to do that. Get a notebook and write these things down. So the Bible, to me, is the first place. The next place where you would get your counseling from would be a wife, a husband, parents, or children. And hopefully you never know what kind of counseling you're going to get from any of them. It depends on how they're walking and what their relationship is to God. If you have a godly spouse, then you're blessed. You'll get good advice, and you'll probably take it often. Same thing with parents listening to the children sometimes, especially on how to operate a cell phone. It's like, whoa, what do I do? And you can go to your 6-year-old son and you say, how does this work? And he grabs it out of your hand. He goes, dip, 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 dip. There, it's fixed. It works great. Or if you're a child, you go to your parents to get counseling on certain things outside of money. And so you're a family. Then also the next one would be a Christian that has a successful experience with the issue that you're going through. And here, this is sort of what Rehoboam's doing. He's going to the elders. They had experience on all of this, and they believed probably in Yahweh, so that would have been a good one to go to. But he instead, as we'll see, goes to young men that weren't walking with the Lord probably. Then you can go to a friend, but a friend may not have experience in the issue that you have. And if he's not a Christian, then it's kind of a tenuous. Although you can get good advice from friends on certain things. How do I fix a carburetor on my 32 Ford that I got? And you find a man that's in his 80s, and he doesn't necessarily have to be a Christian at all, but he'll know everything about the carburetor. And then the non-believers, well, like I said, it depends on what type of counseling you're looking for. 10:8, and he forsook the council of the presbyteron, advising to him. And he was advised by the padarion, the young men being brought up with him, standing before him. So they probably were all idolaters too. From all these wives, they were all probably growing up together. And Solomon had wives from all sorts of women of the nations with these idols. And he said to them, Rehoboam said to these men, "What word do you counsel that I shall answer to this people, who spoke to me, saying, Spare us from the yoke of which your father put upon us? And the young men, having been brought up with him, said to him, saying, Thus you shall speak to the people, speaking to you, saying, Your father oppressed our yoke, and you now lighten from our yoke. Thus you shall say to them, My small finger is thicker than the loin of my father." Well, that's not the thing she used to say. And basically the loin is an euphemism for the male sexual organ. So you can imagine what he's saying, or they're telling him to say. Well, he didn't do that. He didn't say that, but everything else, he went along with what they had to say. "And now my father inserted to you a heavy yoke, but I will add upon your yoke. My father corrected you with whips, but I will correct you with scorpions." And Jeroboam came and all the people to Rehoboam on the third day. It looks like I didn't highlight these with the English derivatives. Sorry about that. But Laos is one, Emera, Trite the third. And Jeroboam, that was the man that was up in Israel, came with all the people of Israel to Rehoboam, as the Vasilevs king said, saying, Rehoboam said, "Come back in 3 days. Return to me on the third day." And the king answered them, Rehoboam answered them hard. And King Rehoboam abandoned the counsel of the elders, presbyteron. And he spoke to them according to the counsel of the younger men, saying, now he didn't say that first part, but he said, "My father oppressed you with oppressed your yoke, and I will add upon it. My father corrected you with whips, and I will correct you with scorpies." There's the transliteration, scorpions. Well, exactly. He's just basically getting it across that he's going to be hard on them. And they got it. "And the king, Vasilevs, hearkened not to the Leu people, for it was a metastrophe from God." It was a conversion from God, that the Lord should establish his word, which he spoke by the hand of Ahijah the Shilonite concerning Jeroboam, son of Nebat. We get a lot of information about Ahijah. The prophet in 1 Kings 14 mentions that he's a Levite prophet of Shiloh, and he encourages a revolt against Solomon, and he foretold to Jeroboam himself as he anointed him that he would become king in 1 Kings 11:29. And then he foretold the death of Jeroboam's son, and this is all in that chapter there. And he foretold the destruction of Jeroboam's dynasty. That's not Rehoboam. Jeroboam's the one in the north, the Israel. So he not only foretold Jeroboam becoming king, he foretold Jeroboam's sons dying, as when Jeroboam's wife came to him a little bit later. And I think this was after Rehoboam died. And then the destruction of Jeroboam's dynasty, because Jeroboam set up, we read in the Kings, set up the golden calf. And that was the God of Israel, where the people down in Judah still had the temple. And then he foretold the fall and captivity of Israel beyond the river, which would have probably been the Euphrates. And then it mentions here that he authored a book in someplace else we were at of the things that were going on. So that was Ahijah the Shilonite. So that means Shiloh. It's from Shiloh. And all Israel saw that the king Rehoboam hearkened not to them. And the people answered to the Vasileia, saying, "Well, what is our portion with David, and the inheritance with the son of Jesse? Run to your tents, O Israel. And that's them. Now, look to your own house, O David. And all Israel went to its tents. So they all left. They went up north to their tents. Well, actually, they were up in the north. They were in Shechem, so that's still up north there. So Rehoboam apparently is still there for how long? He was there for 5 years, and we're not exactly sure if this was probably towards the end of it. And as far as the men of Israel dwelling in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam, the king of Judah, reigned over them. And Rehoboam the king sent Hadoram, the one over the tribute, get money, tax them, taxation. And the sons of Israel stoned him with stones, and he died. So Rehoboam's there in Shechem, sends this man out to get the money. They kill him. And King Rehoboam hastened to ascend into the chariot to flee unto Jerusalem. So he saw that his days in Shechem were coming to an end because of the revolt, and so he hopped into his chariot, fled to Jerusalem. And Israel annulled allegiance to the house of David until this day. And he's talking about here, it says in 1 Kings 1:11, Behold, these things happened with you, Solomon, that is, and you guarded not my commandments and my orders which I gave charge to you. In tearing, I will tear up your kingdom from out of your hand, and I will give it to your bondman, who was Jeroboam. So a prophecy of God, of what's going to happen right here, as it did happen. Continue in the 11th chapter, and more about Rehoboam and the problems between now Israel and Judah, new country, and how it forms. And we will go through this in the next video seminar, and hope you'll join us in chapter 11. And God bless.